Title: Alien Woman Fell on Top of Him and Didn't Want to Get Up. The rain had just stopped when Alex finally trudged back to his apartment, soaked from the storm but grateful for the calm that followed. The city smelled like wet asphalt and ozone, and a faint orange glow from the streetlights reflected off the puddles. He carried his bag, thinking about nothing in particular, just wanting to collapse on his couch and forget the chaos of the day. That's when he felt it, a sudden sharp weight landing on his chest. He stumbled backward, hitting the wall, and froze. Staring down at him was a woman, or at least something that looked like a woman, but with luminous green skin and hair that shimmered like liquid silver. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped, and glowed faintly under the hallway light. She was pressed against him, breathing hard, and didn't seem the slightest bit concerned about the awkward position. Hi, Alex croaked, struggling under her weight. The alien woman blinked, then tilted her head with an expression that was almost humanly curious. Hi, she replied in a voice that resonated in his chest more than his ears. I slipped. Alex swallowed nervously, trying to push her off without touching the soft alien fabric that seemed to ripple along her skin. But she didn't budge. I can help you up, he said, voice trembling. She shook her head, her silver hair brushing against his collar. No, I like it here. Alex froze. Liked it here. His mind raced. Was she some kind of invader? A hallucination? A very persuasive dream? He wasn't sure. But he could feel the warmth radiating from her body. It was unlike anything human. She smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet he couldn't place. I think you should stand up, he said carefully, testing his voice for authority. Or, at least sit on the floor. She sighed, a sound like wind through crystal chimes. I said I don't want to get up. And that was it. She wasn't moving. Not a fraction. Alex tried to shift under her, attempting to roll her off without touching her too intimately, but she adjusted herself like liquid, molding to his chest as if she were part of him. Why are you here? He asked, trying to mask the rapid beating of his heart. She hummed, a low melodic sound that made the hairs on his arms stand. I don't know. I was looking for someone. And I found you. Alex froze. Me? Yes. Her eyes locked onto his, and suddenly the weight pressing down wasn't entirely uncomfortable. There was something almost magnetic about her presence. You're interesting. Warm. Safe. He coughed. Safe. You just fell on top of me. She chuckled, a sound like wind bells in the rain. Safe can be relative. Alex had no idea how to respond. Part of him wanted to scream, part of him wanted to run, but part of him was captivated. He could feel the pulse of her energy brushing against his chest, and the sound of her breathing synced almost perfectly with his own. Minutes passed. He didn't know how many, but gradually, he began to notice the subtle ways she studied him. The tilt of her head, the flicker of her iridescent eyes, the way she traced a finger along his shoulder without touching him fully. She was curious, probing without intent, examining without judgment. Finally, Alex dared to speak. Are you really from another planet? She smiled, a slow, mesmerizing curl of her lips. Yes, but not the scary kind of alien. Just like to explore. Learn. Connect. Alex laughed nervously, almost in disbelief. You connected by pinning me to the wall. I like gravity, she said simply. It feels grounding. Here with you I can feel gravity properly. It was absurd. Impossible. And yet, looking into her luminous eyes, Alex could sense something undeniably real. Something alive. He exhaled, tension melting slightly. Okay, he said finally, resigned. If you're staying, at least tell me your name. She paused, considering, then whispered, Lyra. Lyra, he repeated, testing the name. Sounded like music, like a secret the universe had tucked into the fabric of his life. I'm Alex. Nice to meet you. Even under these circumstances. Lyra hummed softly. I like you. The words were simple, but in the silence that followed, they carried weight. The room was still small, but it didn't feel crowded. Rain had stopped outside, leaving the city glistening, quiet, and expectant. Alex realized he was no longer thinking about the absurdity of the situation. He was just listening and feeling and strangely accepting the impossible. Do you always fall on strangers? He asked, a small smirk forming despite himself. No, Lyra replied. Only on those I choose. The moment stretched, suspended between human and alien, between logic and wonder. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, Lyra shifted her weight, sitting upright just enough for him to breathe more comfortably. Not fully gone, but close enough that he could look at her properly. I could stay like this forever, she said, her voice soft but firm. But I suppose I should move eventually. Alex swallowed. He didn't want her to. Not really. But he also realized that the gravity of her presence, both literal and emotional, was something he needed to respect. I think we could try to figure out how to coexist, he said carefully. His own voice carrying warmth he didn't expect. Lyra's eyes sparkled like stars caught in liquid. I'd like that, Alex. Very much. And for the first time that night, the alien woman fully lifted herself from his chest, though she remained close enough that their shoulders touched. It wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. A collision of worlds, human and extraterrestrial, bound together by an inexplicable gravitational connection. Alex sat back on the couch, still stunned, still processing, still utterly captivated. Lyra perched beside him, her shimmering hair brushing against his arm. Her presence a reminder that the universe was far bigger and far more wonderful than he had ever imagined. Outside, the city continued to gleam under the wet night, unaware of the strange, beautiful new alliance forming inside one small apartment. And Alex, for the first time in a long while, didn't mind that the universe had just thrown an alien woman on top of him, and that she had no intention of leaving. The night stretched on, filled with quiet conversation, laughter, and the hum of two worlds beginning to collide. And Alex knew, without doubt, that nothing in his life would ever be ordinary again. Lyra finally shifted her weight, lifting herself slightly from Alex's chest, though her shoulder still brushed against his. The glow from her green skin and silver hair made the small apartment feel otherworldly, as if the rain-slicked city outside had disappeared entirely. I could stay like this forever, she murmured, her voice soft but filled with certainty. Alex swallowed, a smile tugging at his lips. I think we can figure out a way to coexist, he said. His heart still racing from the absurdity and the thrill of her presence. Her eyes sparkled like distant stars. I'd like that, Alex. Very much. For the first time, the weight pressing on him wasn't uncomfortable. It was grounding. There was an undeniable pull between them, more than gravity, more than chance. It was connection, raw and electric, bridging worlds he had only ever imagined.